Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
It's the 49er Faithful UK show. So, who needs Disneyland when you can ride the roller coaster from the comfort of your own home? Not easy to sum up that game. So basically, we're in the Super Bowl, baby. I'm Gareth Ellis. And while they are champions every day, they are just a little bit more champion-y today. It is Paul Hope.
I'm feeling super, boys. I'm feeling super.
Knew you would be. It's MC Lee Gowland.
Hey guys, what a game. What a game.
And good to see you back. Ooh la la, it's Naji Kora.
Hello, everyone.
So, lads, another routine, stress-free win. Did you manage to stay awake? Bit dull, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. You know, just a bit.
Yeah, boring.
Routine.
Football
I'm flagging
boring
now.
game.
Well, I am interested to hear what talking points you might have squeezed out of that game. Who should we start with? Let's start with Paul, because he's always done his homework.
Yep. Well, you stole my thunder with the emotional roller coaster. I knew someone would. So first talking point, chaps, is never lose hope. Always keep the faith. The second talking point is the immaculate deflection, which would have been made better if it was a touchdown. I knew you'd like that one, Nadji. And my third one, gotta say, Gareth, the Lions bowled me over in the first half. But wow, that second half was special.
That's pretty good. Lee, what you got?
Yeah, so, I mean, you've nicked one of mine as well, but I'm going with it anyway. A river of emotions, a clutch performance, and missed opportunities.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's good. Naji, what have you got?
I had definitely Tales of Two Halves. I had experience over rookies, and I can't remember my last one. God, I haven't done this in too long. That was it. Just, MVP performance by Brock Purdy.
I knew you'd have that one, Nadji. I had one prepared in case you weren't ready, and it was one heck of a game manager, aka Fred Warner. But I wanted to leave Brock Purdy for Nadji because it's great to have you back, buddy.
Brock. How could I forget?
Yeah.
What about
well,
you?
I've got a little touch of Brock there with some bounce Brock ability. Nice word. Bit philosophical, this one, I think. Stars always shine brightest in the darkest nights.
Very nice.
And finally, shame it had to be the Lions. But there we go. There's always got to be a loser. Let's start with Brock.
May I jump in for 1 second before we go further? Because I haven't been here for a while, so I'd like to apologize to everybody for that. I know I don't need to apologize, and I would have taken the time off because I needed it. But I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, to all your free, because you've been amazing and supportive. And everybody in the group has really... I've had so many messages from people checking up on me, saying they were in the stand and just being nice to me. And I needed it. And thank you very much. I'm not completely 100% back, and I don't think I'll ever will be. Because... but yeah, that's what I want to say. This community is amazing. If it wasn't for us winning, and you guys have been absolutely, just incredible this past 2 weeks, and it's helped a lot. I almost didn't jump back in the chats yesterday, but I felt like it would help, and boy, did it help, and obviously the game too. So I just want to say really massive thank you to everyone.
You were missed, Nadji. The shows weren't quite the same without you.
Yeah, so. You were Nadji.
Thanks, Matt.
Great stuff.
Let's talk football.
Yeah, back to business. Brock. Let's start with Brock. It's got to be Brock. Go on, Nadji. You're back in the saddle now.
Yes, I am. Tale of Two Halves for sure. Brock definitely didn't look quite as good in the first half either. But then I just rewatched it in 40, and he played so well even in the first half, and he made some clutch plays in the first half, even just to score that one touchdown there. Because the game would have been definitely a lot different at 24-zip. Just to get us in, just to have that only two touchdown deficit. He played so really well. That drive where we scored, he was absolutely clutch. I mean, the pass to Jawan on our third and whatever one-handed catch. If the Brandon Ayuk play is insane, this one is very close second for sure. So yeah, just that performance alone, just that first half alone, and I know he missed a couple of throws and all that. It wasn't even that Purdy-ish, but just watching it back, I was just like, oh, I forgot how good he was in the first half, and he really didn't really make that many mistakes apart from the pick, obviously, which really even wasn't a mistake, really. He just got his hand hit and he couldn't throw it the way he wanted. But yeah, uh, especially when you watch the game before and the way Lamar played and the MVP conversation. And I know it's just one game and Lamar played really well the whole season, but the contrast when it mattered the most, I thought Brock really put his best foot forward and just carried us to that victory. And as soon as he clutched that momentum, he wasn't going to let it go, and he led that team to this victory and this comeback. I thought, and he got the MVP in Discord. There was massive shout out for BA and Kyle for the first time in a long time on Discord anyway. But yeah, MVP for us on Discord, and I agree with it. Yeah, just franchise QB that doesn't look like it's his second year in the league, carrying us to a Super Bowl. What else would you want, from Mr. Irrelevant? So yeah, he's amazing, and he's slowly changing the narrative about Justin Herbert and Brock Purdy. No, he's quite something, and he showed it last night. I thought. Tell me what you thought. Did you
Yeah,
watch the game
Paul.
again and notice that first half? Because I completely forgot until I watched it again. I was just like, wow, what a game, what a game.
I watched it back. I said she's off air. I finished work a little bit earlier today because I was a bit tired. And that throw to Jennings you
Really?
referenced there. Well, to be fair, Lee, I'll give you that. I was at home doing the social media stuff, but that throw to Jennings in the game in 40, when you see it from the other angle, it's Mahomes-esque.
Yeah, but
If
Mahomes had
Mahomes
the
does
same
that
one.
play, it's the fact that he's got that Jordan-style body type, and the way he's just put touch on it, he just lobbed it over. Heading into this game, Gareth, Purdy has been typecast by many as your prototypical game manager. The team have taken that personal, which I like. Alex Smith, I loved his bit before the game where he said, I'm the unofficial president of the game manager club, and Brock Purdy's not allowed in. And the knock on Brock, I've heard it all year off non-Niners fans. It was getting louder by the end of the first
More
quarter. Just had to
desperate.
jump on social media. Brock was a passenger more than a driver, Najee. He's a beneficiary more than the benefactor. Kyle was playing not to lose rather than to win, and he didn't trust Brock. And I think that's why I liked Kyle and Brock's embrace at the end of the game. And it shows that he loves this kid. And it shows he just lets him play. And it's the modern put down chaps, isn't it, in QB talk? Oh, he's a game manager, dink and dunk. And after that first half, the season was done. How many people did we see post on the group? The season was done. I'm walking away. I seen fair few posts. One advantage of not drinking is you capture all these posts in the early hours and you think you're going to look a bit silly when you come back. And I like the fact that the team have come out, lads, and said nobody was going mad at half time. Kyle Shanahan even said he got the team together and went, we're only 17 points down. As badly as we've played, we are only 17 points down. And it was one of my talking points. I said, this team is special. How can you not get on board the Brocket? Well, the Brocket ship, as Najee calls it, now he's back. He became who we needed him to be. He was a playmaker. Look at his stats. Second half, 13 of 16, 267 yards. He added 48 with his feet. Ticked off my bold prediction, Najee. I said 300 yards for Brock. He gave me 315. The interception, again, we've been here before. It's not Jimmy-esque. His hand was tipped. The team aren't worried. And that throw to Brandon Ayuk, that's why we moved off Jimmy. We saw what happened in 2019, 2020 when Jimmy overthrew Sanders. Kyle wouldn't let Jimmy air it out. He gives Brock the trust. And yes, the immaculate deflection, which we'll come on to. There was a bit of luck, but you need luck in this wonderful game of football. But
There was a
Brock
flag. There was a flag. We'll
led
talk
the
about it.
way. I mean, Gareth, last week, the knock on Brock Purdy was he only came back from 4 points. So he decided to let the Lions get 17-point head start. just tied for the second largest comeback in NFC Championship history. I mean, can you remember what the last one was, chaps? The last team?
I think I saw the stat up on the screen.
Wasn't
So,
it?
so another game.
Yeah,
So,
I wonder what
over to you two.
I wonder what the haters are gonna choose to bash on this time. It's gonna be hard for them to find excuses now. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. The excuses are gone now. There's no excuse for any
They'll
hate
find
on
something.
Purdy.
They'll find
They will.
something.
They will, because it's the type of people they are, and they want clickbait because they haven't got the talent to actually get the views, which is why they'll do something like that. But I did the same as you, Najee. I watched the game back. I think it was 6 o'clock tonight, and to be honest, so obviously last night when I was hosting the event, I decided not to drink. So I was on the non-alcoholic beers until half time, that is, and then I cracked. But in the first half, my recollection of the game was that nobody in the team had a particularly good game.
Yeah.
No.
So when I watched it back and I was watching some of the throws Purdy was making in the first half, I was thinking, well, actually, those were bloody good throws.
Yeah, played really well.
And it was just a case of I wasn't giving the Lions defense the credit they deserved for the performance they put up in the first half. They were flawless. They executed exactly like it should be executed. Everything went right for them. They were very, very good. And they're going to be a very good team for a long time because they're a young team. So I was able to look at that tonight with fresh eyes, watch it again, and I've come away thinking it wasn't that bad in the first half.
Well, we said that in Discord, Lee, me and Nadji were. So we weren't sure if Nadji was joining us. So me and Paul Scrimshaw had a little get together and said, let's keep the Discord chat on fire. And then Nadji strolled in. It was the highlight of the first half. Nadji popped up and was like, I'm back. And Nadji dropped a comment in. So I think someone had put, that's it, lads, pack it up. Game's done. Towards the end of the first quarter. And Nadji was like, you do realise this is the NFL. And this is what we keep saying, the eye test. The Lions did everything right. Obviously, Andy, who we had on the show last week, he was in Dreamland, he was texting me, and he was saying everything that we've tried has worked. You look at the stats, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 18, they were just running them in. And I started to think, 3rd and long, what is it with this Niners defense and 3rd and long? But Nadji, you said it, and people seem to think, I don't know whether after the performance last week, that we were going to come in and put the 27 points that Brock scored on his 5 consecutive drives at the start of the game. But this is 49 Faithful UK, baby. It's the emotional roller coaster. And Lee, I'm surprised we've got 12 minutes in and you haven't said curse. What curse?
Well, so I did the same as many other people who were at the event. I stayed off social media. I knew exactly what was going to happen, where they were going to go down with it, and this whole Leeds curse. So let's address that. And it's going to sound insulting, and you know what? I don't care. I do not care. If you're a grown adult and you think that a group of fans in the UK has influenced a game in the United States for professional athletes, you are mental. There is something wrong with you. Seriously? A curse?
I mean,
you believe in witchcraft then?
People grasp whatever they can to make themselves feel better. It's totally a human reaction.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's ridiculous.
But it is ridiculous.
Some of it's tongue in cheek, isn't it?
Sometimes it is. It's just a good way of justifying something which you can't actually justify by any.
It's because they don't want to admit they were beaten by a better team.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Before we go further, I think the one play that really grasped the whole concept to me of the first half on our side is the 3rd and 10 to Ayuk, where he dove and tried and catch it and couldn't hang on to it.
Yeah.
I think as bad as we were, I think if Ayuk catches that ball, we're driving. And I think if we score on that drive, it's 21-14 at the half. So it's not really that bad. And obviously he didn't, and then they scored that field goal, which makes it 17. And yeah, as you said, and absolute kudos to the Lions. They played really, really well in the first half. They were all over us. Our run defense was really stout. I mean, they were stacking 8 in the box. It's really stopped the run with 8 people. Yeah, they played really well, and on offense they really took it to us, and we couldn't stop them. We didn't find anything to stop them, unless even in the second half. How I'm gonna say, I think they kind of beat themselves a little bit, but I just that first half and coming back to Brock, I thought Brock really fought through it and kept us in it as much as he could, despite everything going wrong for us and everything going right for them. Not necessarily just pure luck, but they made their own luck and they played really, really well. I was very surprised at how well they played. It wouldn't surprise me if Dawesi gets a head coach job tomorrow or the day after.
Yeah, he's on the list, Nadji.
Yeah,
Andy said that last week. He said every team has interviewed him.
Very impressive, especially and then that we're going to talk about it later in the second half, especially with people like Jared Goff, because I think the biggest mistake, and we're going to talk about Dan Campbell in fourth down, I'm sure, but the biggest mistake that Dan Campbell had and made, I think, is trust Jared Goff to carry them to a Super Bowl, and I just don't think he has it in him. He's good. He's good, but he's like Jimmy. He'll take you to the Super Bowl, but he'll also not take you to the Super Bowl. It's not just on him, like Brock. And in contrast, what Brock did, those runs, those passes, the one to Ayuk and all that. It's just, yeah. I've just read a lot of articles saying it's all about Campbell. It's all about how the Lions lost it, and rightfully so. They did, I think. But we had to stay in it. We had to make them lose it, and we did. So, yeah.
It's the same articles with the analytics. I think you've read the same as mine. And I was talking to Wandy chaps at half time, and he was saying what he's worried about if he was in that situation. He said Dan Campbell would have been going mental on the sidelines and have been chairs flipped. And his wording was, Kyle Shanahan is calmness personified. And I think that goes hand in hand, Najee. Kyle's coaching last night. Play calls, he stuck to the plan. Trent Williams has come out and said, we knew it wasn't ideal in the first half, but we weren't going to move away. It just needed to click. It needed, like George Kittle said, the momentum. Because I don't know if you chaps have seen Kittle was interviewed last week and he had a bit of an argument with one of the press officers who said momentum isn't a thing in football. And Kittle was like, well, you've never played football because trust me, momentum is a thing. And that's what happened. And I think it was nice to see Kyle get those flowers last night and the trust he has in Brock. But the one moment for me, Nadji, which cemented Purdy's MVP performance last night was the scramble on the third down when he tucked it. And then when I watch it back, Debo just misses his block and Brock runs straight in the back of Debo. If you go and watch it, because Debo even said himself, he said afterwards, I was worried that I'd injured the quarterback. And they're looking around and he said, literally, if he hits that block, Purdy's ran that in and we're looking similar to when number 7 used to do it for us. And it was just great to see. And he put the team on his back. We said this last week, Nadji. A lot of the talking heads are only 4 points. Can't wait to listen to what they say this week. I mean, Pat McAfee came out last week and was very supportive, but that's why I've nicked that 27 points off 5 consecutive drives. But that,
so to be honest, Paul, that was a genius play by Debo to stop Purdy there. Because the resulting 2 plays after that took another 60 seconds off the clock.
100%. And it's fine margins like that. And we're going to get on to Campbell and his 4th down. But it's just great to see.
Come on, Gareth. You've been quiet. Tell us
what
you follow Brock. I know. Tell us
I know.
Brock.
The excitable children. I know what it's like. Well, I'll wrap up the Brock. I think you have covered most of it, really. But I think there's going to be the haters who are going to be quiet because I think that kind of performance in the season, people can, but it's the NFC Championship game and your season's about to end and you're staring that 17-point deficit in the face. And there's a lot of other quarterbacks, perhaps better quarterbacks, who wilt in that situation. I think that is the difference. It's what we've mentioned on and off all season. It's the intangible, the leadership, and what I put, the bounce Brock ability, just your ability to just go out there and do it all again. When you've played badly, when you're in a hole, you just go out and you run the offense. And he managed the absolute out of that game. So, I mean, if he's a game manager, he is the best game manager who's ever played the game. So, if we want to call it like that. But I thought it was good to see him running. I did have him down as a rushing touchdown, and I thought I was going to get it. And I thought it was going to be about a 30-yarder. But perhaps sensible that he does go to ground. But that's good to see because when he first came into the team, he did have that scramble ability, and I think obviously he had perhaps a bit more leeway in his rookie season of just, okay, we're not going to put too much on you. And Kyle's obviously wanted him to stick more in the pocket, but I think he's got better. He's got to know when to run, and he chose his time well, and he did against the Packers with that 9-yard rush, I think, on first down that set us up for the go ahead touchdown. He's got that in his game. It's the decision making, and it's the fact that nothing seems to bother him too much. And obviously, you tie that in with the fact that he can make a load of good passes. He can make some poor passes. But you mentioned it right at the beginning. If you go and judge Lamar Jackson by what you saw on Sunday night, then MVP. But no one talks about that. They talk about an elite quarterback who had a bad game, and he had a bad game in the biggest game he's ever played in. I'd much rather have an average quarterback who always has their best games in the biggest games. And Brock seems to kind of be doing that. Not in the regular season, but there we are. I think we'll probably come back to Brock because he is fairly unavoidable for the praise. Where should we go? Immaculate deflection. Go on. That's I didn't think of that, and now I've seen it. It's obvious. This was yours, Paul. I think.
Very good.
Yeah. This is the thing where suddenly you think it's turning in our favour. Just those little bits. And if people say, well, you were lucky to win, every professional sports team that's ever won anything in any sports has been lucky somewhere along the way. That's just the way it is. Paul, over to you.
I mean, Lee called people mental for the superstitions. In context, Najee had called a big player was coming in the Discord group. I was chatting to Andy, and he was getting very giddy. And I'd said, "There's a turnover coming here." Then there's a pick six, and then all of a sudden the turnover happened. And then Andy was like, "As if you've called that." And the next play after the turnover was Brock signaling that one, and it was as if they suddenly had that shift of momentum and like, right, we're going to do a big play. Now the route Ayuk ran, the defender covered him quite well. Should have been an interception. And what I wrote down is fortune favours the brave. And let's face it bounced off his helmet and Ayuk still had to be there. At first, I thought it was a touchdown. I thought we were going to be talking about like the catch four, the catch. Go on,
Paul,
mate, sorry.
you thought it was a touchdown. At the box, we were still celebrating what we thought was a touchdown when we actually scored the touchdown.
But,
that's how long the celebrations lasted.
Yeah.
I just wrote down, Gareth, that we touched upon this game manager with Purdy. Carl just let him air it out. He said after the game, Purdy, he was actually asked about this one. He said, "What did you see?" And he said, "Well, Ayuk's my guy. He was 1-on-1 in the coverage. I made a play." And it was just refreshing to hear. He was just open. He was honest. And Ayuk's come out. I don't know if you've seen, they've released the top 10 players of the weekend. And Ayuk's fuming because that one's not number one. They reckon Ryan Clark may have put the list together. But I just wanted to have a bit of fun with that one. It was a game changer. It was a momentum changer. And it was forever known as the immaculate deflection. So I'll hand it over to you.
It's a good nickname for it. Yeah, two things about that. Yeah, the first thing is when Brock let it go, I wasn't scared that was going to be a pick or anything. I thought, oh, somebody's open. This is a touchdown, which is so refreshing compared to a few years ago, where all of our hearts sank every time Jimmy tried anything above 15 yards. And there was actually a flag on the play, which I know they picked up, but I reckon it was PI. Because there was a bit of fighting before the ball got there, or maybe defensive holding, something like that. So I think we would have got the ball pretty close to where it was anyway. So I don't want to hear anything about luck winning this game. The Lions receiver, the young guy that scored 2 touchdowns, I forgot his name now.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams. He got one as well. Ambry basically had the ball in his hand, and he wrestled it back. So, luck 1-1 at this point. And if they win the game, maybe we talk about this play being the turning point. It's one of those. But yeah, it definitely started something, put us back on the right side of the momentum, especially after the turnover, especially after scoring the 3 points. Because we needed points on our first drive coming out of the half. And just clawing back to within one score, one touchdown, just changed. I think that did change the whole game. And yeah, you did get a bit lucky because the ball has to bounce, a certain way for it to be there for you to catch it. But remember, Eli Manning's play in the Super Bowl? How lucky is that? Do you remember Julian Edelman catch against the Falcons
Yeah.
about a millimeter off the ground?
And it's
That's
still the
lucky too.
concentration. It's still
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
catch it.
These people are super athletes. They are very good at what they do, and Ayuk just showed that he's immensely good at being a number one receiver. I love BA, and he's gonna get paid. I think this offseason, rightfully, rightfully so. Yeah,
Just
it
got
was
to
good.
add, Gareth, it was Najee 6:03 left on the clock when that happened. It was 24-10. So it was quite an important time of the game because if that one is picked off, the momentum suddenly stops.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Only.
So I'm obviously I don't really have much to say about that. You've covered all that quite well, but it does kind of segue quite nicely into my very first point, which is a point that Gareth had made when he started the show, and a river of emotions, because mine kind of ebbed and flowed up to a certain point. The first half, like I said, when in the cold reality of the first half, seeing it live, I thought we were garbage. I thought we played really poorly. I was quite down, as was everybody. And what was difficult was, obviously, my job was to keep everybody up. So I tried my best to do that. And I can't remember if it was just before halftime. It was actually during halftime. During halftime, I'd been down to the gents and I was talking to Jonathan with Green on the way back, and I said to him, the concern I have is that we aren't built to come back from behind, even if it's a small number, and this is a big number. We're not built to do that, and I don't think we can. But literally 20 seconds later, once I got back to the bar, I turned around to Andy Hudson and said, right, all we need to do is score on our first drive of the second half, make a stop, and then score on the next one.
And
it's a 3-point game.
Yeah.
It's dead easy. That's all we need to do. And Andy was like, what have you been drinking down there, the gents? Because you went down there, one person came back a completely different one. And like I said, at that point, I hadn't had alcohol and I haven't had any tonight, even though I can't talk. And I said, that's a very good point, Andy. Right, barman, can I have 4 fireballs, please? So lined them up, started drinking fireballs during half time because I was kind of up and down. I was like, I think I was going through a bipolar episode. 1 minute I was so high, the next minute I was so low, and I was thinking, what on earth am I doing to myself here?
Yeah,
and that kind of
I clocked at
that kind of
130 on my watch. My heart rate 130
Really?
at one point. Yeah, I just sat
and
there.
I need to check mine actually.
Yeah.
I need to check mine.
It was pretty
So
intense.
it kind of eased us into the third quarter, where I was thinking about what I'd said to Andy. Right, we need to score on this first drive, and we did. We scored. Granted, was it a field goal?
Yeah,
it was a
3-point
field goal.
Moody, yeah.
It was a field goal. And then they came, and when they got that fourth down, before they'd even snapped the ball, I turned around to Andy Hudson and said, "This is it. This is the turning point. This is where we're going to win the game from here, because we're going to make that stop. It's going to be a momentum changer." And I said on the podcast, "It's win the turnover battle. You're going to win playoff football." And sure enough, from that point, that was the big momentum changer. And you could see it. You could see it in Dan Campbell's face. He almost went ashen. He was confused. Right, what do I do next? And it was so obvious to us in the box that the whole atmosphere changed immediately. It wasn't just a case of, oh well, we've got a bit of luck, so we've got a chance. Suddenly everybody was, right, we've got this.
Yeah,
We've
the stadium
definitely
got
this.
louder. You
Yeah.
could hear it from the couch. So yeah.
Well, the stadium got louder, and obviously the benefit of watching it on TV rather than being in the stadium, you could see the Lions players' faces,
Yeah.
you could see the coaching faces, and you could see they were absolutely dumbstruck by that one player losing that fourth down. And it completely changed the game. And like I said, for the first half, my emotions up and down, ebbed and flowed. And then once we got to 7 minutes and 3 seconds left in the third quarter, that was it. That was it.
Do you not find, Lee, that since we started doing this, I wanted to remind everyone that we are 4 fans. You were there hosting last night. Me, Gareth and Najee had major fear of missing out. We're not experts. We're fans. We love this team. I'm always known as being ever the optimist. And maybe because I had to be quiet, you went for a fireball. I'm very English, went for a cup of tea, a shortbread biscuit, dropped Nadji a message, dropped Paul Scrimshaw a message. But I said it last week, I didn't have that sinking feeling. I just thought this team's not done. There's a lot of football to play. Me and Connor were texting because you'd nicked Jay Peplow off me, so I had to replace someone else. So we talk about people's superstitions. I still had some in place. Was very worried about our good friend Brett Sinclair because I'd synced all my streams up, Lee, so you couldn't come to Darlington and smash my face in this week. And
Did
Brett,
Did you see the game? Did he watch the game? Did he?
he had a nice sleep, Nadji,
Oh.
one shall say. So
Little nap, wasn't it?
So in our group chat this morning, Brett pops in. Morning, lads. Didn't watch the game. Set my alarm clock wrong. Now, it's probably my fault as well, Brett. I'm sorry, buddy, because, it's always my fault. But we joke on. The reason we've mentioned the emotional roller coaster, Gareth, is this community. As much as I love the team, I love the community. It was weird sitting at home, seeing Lee hosting. There was a funny story where I got some video footage, shared it, and then Lee messaged me and was like, how on earth have you done that? I said, put it this way, buddy. If I was there, I'd have come and said hello to you. But it was just like you said, Lee. Obviously, we talk about the curse and stuff, but I'm glad that was smashed. And it was great to see the change on social media as well, because I was monitoring that, and then the positivity in the group. And superb.
It's a good segue into talking about the Lions. And shout out to Andy. I listened to the pod, your friend. I think he was really good, and his analysis of the team was pretty spot on. I think the emotion that got to Dan Campbell that scared him a little bit definitely got to it. And to come back to the emotion thing, obviously I'm in a weird place right now, but at halftime I was pretty content that if we'd lose this game, at least we'd lost it to a better team on the day anyway. They were really playing a lot better than us, and kudos for that. I've never had a problem losing to a better team. When we got beat by the Ravens on Christmas Day, we just got beat by a better team. What you never want to see is the team beating itself, and I'm glad we had the fight in and we made them doubt. And then I don't know if you guys agree. As much as it's a Niners win, I think it's very much a Detroit loss. I think they very much botched it as hard as they could, and I mean we made them botch it. It's not something like they did by themselves by having penalties and turnovers galore. But yeah, if we want to talk about the fourth down calls, I would have gone for it before the half to put a dagger in and still beat 14 points up. Still 2-score game. I know 3 scores better, but really not that much 3 points. And then he went for it twice when he shouldn't have gone for it twice. He should have kicked field goals. And I think it comes to my point with the experience. And, the Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie fumble, the Josh Reynolds, I know he's a veteran, but the 2 drops and, the Jared Goff sailing on 4th down. I think the Lions have learned a lot of this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again in this kind of game very soon in a year or so. I was hugely impressed by the Lions. I didn't really follow them this season, being the Lions and being relevant for the first time. Really, it's the NFL is shifting, so you have to try and shift your perception too. I was really impressed. And had we lost this game, if the game had carried on the way that it did in the first half, I would have been well done, good luck against the Chiefs, kind of thing. And I'm glad I'm glad we fought for it, and it was beautiful to see. Obviously, very biased here, but what did you guys think? Do you genuinely think their lack of experience and the over emotion of Dan Campbell on the sideline trying to probably do too much has cost them
Certainly
the game?
the experience, I think that was something that was reassuring me. I think I also had that at the half time. I was looking at the scores and thinking, could we score 14 points a quarter for the next 2 quarters? Yeah, of course we could. With the players we've got, absolutely we could. And you're thinking, as long as the defense can tighten up, we're still in this, because we know our offense. The Jimmy offense, you knew it took us ages. We'd have to grind out yards and it would take us a long time to score. With this offense, we've seen it before. Bish, bash, bosh, 2 or 3 passes or a 30-yard run. We've gone down the field and scored in 12 seconds when we've needed it. We've been able to do that. There's something about that in this team. And I thought this experience, there was a little bit of flashback seeing Kansas City in the Super Bowl. There was that little flashback, particularly couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Shame for the Lions, but not a lot of sympathy for Chauncey Gardner Johnson waving at the fans, and that little bit of all smiles on the sideline. I thought, I've seen that before, and I remember it going really badly when you've seen that. Mentally, we've got this game won. And I think that's the inexperience. And I think they are a young team. I think they will be back. And for all the sympathy of it, we've been there the last 2 years. And that's what's built the strength in this team to come back from that. Because we've been through that loss. You have to go through that grinder to get sharpened up enough to be able to come back when you need it. And that's what I think the Lions didn't have. They just didn't have the players who can do that. Dan Campbell's obviously been getting a lot of flack about those fourth down calls. I thought the interesting thing about that is obviously he's got his philosophy, he's stuck to it. Perhaps the worst thing to do is start second guessing yourself if you get all the way to the championship game and then try and do things differently. But the thing it made me think of is when Shanahan gets all the criticism for being too conservative. Kind of, that game is exhibit A of why you sometimes take the points when they're there.
No, absolutely.
I'm smiling, Gareth.
Insight is 2020, isn't it?
That's what Andy said, Nadji. We mentioned Andy, so Andy will be joining us later in the week. Understandably, he's wanted to have a bit of time, but he's been texting. He congratulated me as soon as the game finished. We actually had a chuckle because in 1957, the Lions overcame a 24-7 lead at half time. So for those people who were superstitious, roles have reversed. But Andy did say to me that Dan Campbell has stuck to his principles, like you said, Gareth. He's done it all season. The one for me was when it was 27-24. And it wasn't a gimme field goal because their kicker kicks in the dome. It was probably at the edge. They might have missed it anyway. And he's decided to, as you said, Nadji, trust Jared Goff and trust his playmakers. But that for me was when you think you tie that at 27-27. Does that change the momentum a little bit? And, you know, it was weird. The emotion we all had in the first half to then all of a sudden be 10 points up. And then people were starting to make Super Bowl plans. It was like, hang on, lads. There's still 2.5 minutes left on the clock here. And we all know 2.5 minutes in an American football game isn't, as straightforward. But I think the Lions have shocked a lot of people. The Lions fans themselves are quite impressed. I did a show last week, Nadji, with another Lions fan. And he said he's waited 30-odd years for January football to be meaningful. And now he's actually got 2 playoff wins and they're in the NFC Championship game. So just the worry for them, Gareth, would be, do they come back next season?
I've read a few reaction from people that went to Levi and that said that it was the best atmosphere they've ever been in with visiting fans. And apparently they did turn up in quite a mass, which is impressive coming all the way from Detroit in such short notice. So, I think I quite like them, especially, I'm a bit gutted that we beat them, to be honest. I would have preferred beating the Cowboys or something like that. It feels a bit nicer. But yeah, obviously, sorry, you were just in our way. We have plans. Which we need to execute. Better the next time. They played really well. I was hugely impressed by how well they played. But yeah, if I were you, I would maybe draft some QB. Jared Goff.
They like him. Andy likes him. He's
have you
but I think you're right.
He start under pressure.
He can take you that far, can't he?
If you guys start under pressure, he's good if you give him time. But in this league, it's very rare that you get this high in football and don't face a stout pass rush that will put pressure on in one way or another. And I don't know if we want to talk about our defense, but it's a good segue. I thought Wilkes actually made really good adjustments in the second half and just put the ball in Goff's hand and said, look, if you're going to beat us, we're not going to beat us on the ground because that's too easy. You're going to have to work hard for it. And it paid off, I think.
Yeah.
So that kind of segues nicely into my third point, which was the missed opportunities. The amount of missed tackles in the first half was just unbelievable. For all, the Lions did play really, really well. in the first half, and I think we were all blown away by how well they played. There was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for us to stop them, and the missed tackles were just diabolical, especially for this stage of the season. So you can't have the excuse of being rusty because you played last weekend. It was just poor tackling, and I think that put us in a hole where it put a lot of pressure on us.
Yeah, the run defense was poor at the start.
Yeah,
It
it
seemed
was.
flat.
Yeah.
And missed tackles, and I mean, I don't know if you've seen Chase Young. There's been a bit of criticism on what I think it's their second or third touchdown where Chase Young just doesn't seem to be putting the effort in.
Yeah.
But
I think that was across the board, Paul.
Yeah,
I could say that of Fred Warner on a few tackles.
Yeah, it was just there was one play in particular I've seen Baldy broke it down. And
I think that's just symptomatic of the whole thing, and it's easy to point fingers. I was very surprised at how far our linebackers were lining up. They were always about 7 yards deep. I'm very scared of the in route by Laporta and Sam Brown. Rightfully so, those two guys are really good. But I just thought we could creep in a bit and also stack the box, and I mean we did eventually. It's just it took a little while. Yeah, during the game I wanted to mention Hargrave, because for the amount of noise it made when we signed him and what he should have brought to this D line. And I know Armstead gets a lot of flack for not being on the stat sheet, but where's Hargrave? I don't think he's showing. I'm not saying he's playing bad. Don't get me wrong. He's disruptive, and he's making people around him a lot better. But I would just expect a little bit more from him, and hopefully the Super Bowl is when he's going to shine and may prove me wrong.
I think he showed a lot more of it at the start of the season.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he's tailed off. Yeah, he's tailed off a bit.
Well, the fact that Kinlaw is in a lot.
It can't be tiredness, can it?
No, the fact that Kinlaw is still rotating a lot for him is kind of weird as well, considering we're probably not going to keep Kinlaw at all. I think we definitely missed Clayton Farrell quite a bit. They definitely would have had a harder time running on us. Gregory is not so much of a run tackler than Clayton Farrell is. So hopefully we can get him back for the Super Bowl. That will help definitely. But
he's just had surgery, hasn't he?
Is he done then? Is he? I
done
have no idea.
He's
is he done? Okay, sorry, my bad.
I think you missed that one.
Yeah, you will have done. Yeah.
I knew you got
a picture of the surgery.
I knew he got hurt. It was against the Rams, right? So I did watch that game.
Well, you mentioned the linebackers. Greenlaw put that hit on Laporta and then didn't see him get up. And do you think Hargrave, it's more the way Wilkes is using them because he's more of a DB specialist?
He's like Armstead. I think it's just expectation and what he actually does on the field. Armstead is they just work so hard in the middle to make Bosa and Clayton Farrell, Chase Young on the other side and Fred looks so much better. That it doesn't show up, but especially when we get run over up the middle, you just want somebody that big and that strong to do just a little bit more, to not get beat or double team so easily or fight through it and be a bit more of a nuisance. That's all. I'm nitpicking because we turned it on in the second half.
It was a bad half though. If that game could have gone differently, and we would be talking about that, because I was thinking at half time it's the defensive line is the unit we've sunk all these resources into, and since last year with D'Amico, we've signed Hargrave, and then we had to top up with Randy Gregory, and then we had to top that up with Chase Young, and it's still not as good as the unit was last year with the journeyman, I don't think. And I think that's possibly something, as you've touched on, with the coaching. That I was thinking, if this game doesn't go well, what are we going to be saying on Monday evening? And I think that's an area where that unit that we thought was a strength has underwhelmed a little bit, and certainly got exposed because they got pushed around by a very good O-line. But that's what you get this time of the season. You're going to face good units everywhere, particularly in the trenches. And perhaps it's, we know that that's not necessarily our strength, our O-line, but we thought that at least the D-line was. And it was a bit humbling to see those massive run lanes just, they unzipped the defensive line and we're getting straight through it. And fair play, however, either the Lions moved away from it or we're able to shut that down in the second half. Because if they'd been able to keep that going, it would have been a different result. Let's face it,
sure.
it would have been.
Sure.
I was going to have that as one of my points, but I thought no, I'll keep upbeat and happy, and we can talk about those.
That's what we do on this show. We criticize when critics is
Yeah.
due. We've got a big game coming up, and we need to get better.
We owe it. Yeah, you're right, and that's. I think
The Pro Bowl,
there's a lot of areas,
course,
but
the Pro
defense,
Bowl. The Pro
defense
Bowl.
in particular, could do with
Do
sharpening
you know
up.
we like to defend Brock Purdy on this show? I've just seen a tweet, Gareth. Apparently, the second half that he had, no other quarterback in the NFL has done that in the last 30 years. His completions, his throw, his rushing. It's just another. I've just seen it flash up there, and I'm like, I'll mention that one.
Yeah.
Not bad for a game manager.
It's Brock,
It's
isn't
just
it?
Kyle did that. Kyle ran those yards, obviously.
Yeah. No, it's Brock. He's people are gonna keep pushing the goalpost, and he's just gonna keep pushing back every time by saying, "Well, look, I'll just do something somebody's never done before," and then maybe you start pushing those goalposts. But yeah, he's very, very
He has
good.
to do it to bail out Jake Moody, doesn't he? Because again, another miss from Moody.
Yeah.
I did think, oh God, I saw re-sign Robbie talk again. It's alongside Fire Shanahan the first half. And you said, Lee, you go back and watch that game. Our 12-play opening drive was actually quite impressive. But then the Moody field goal miss.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they just ran it up the other end and scored.
Yeah.
Their first touchdown reminded me of the game that Lee was at last year, the Dolphins game, where they just scored that quickly on offense. I just kind of thought they've scored too quickly.
Yeah.
So I said exactly the same thing to somebody in the box last night. I can't remember who it was. It might have been young Jack. I'd said it to somebody and said, look, this is exactly the same as the Dolphins game. Brock Purdy's very first game.
Basically, Tracy went to make a drink because she's watched the first half and she came back and she went, they're getting beat already. Cheers, Trace. Yeah, we're getting beat already.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up with one of mine, the last one. The stars shine brightest in the darkest nights. And I think this was perhaps the difference. I did have this almost phrased. This is the difference between having good players and having great players. And it's the immaculate deflection. It's that Juwan Jennings going up that one-handed catch. It's the Christian McCaffrey where there's no yards there and he gets 4. And it doesn't seem much in the grand scheme of things, but he does it over and over and over again, gets something out of nothing. And then he gets 20 out of 5.
Yeah.
But it's all of our players stood up that it was going to be a team win and a team loss. I know they're all these cliches, but I can't think of anyone who didn't, certainly on the offensive side, put an absolute shift in. Charlie Warner, as always, he's always there. He's always doing something. Yeah. And even though the defense was struggling, I think they kept at it. The defense you didn't see, as you've seen with potentially other teams, the finger pointing, particularly in the secondary, or the frustration with each other. You see it with the team, but you see every player frustrated with themselves. You don't see them pointing the fingers at each other. And you can clearly see like the leadership of Fred is, we just get them back and work. They've got 1st and 10. This is just another chance to go and take the ball off them. We'll just go through this. You saw all of our top players just stand up in that game, whether it was that 1 or 2 catches from Kittle. Obviously, Debo had a good game. The O-line had a bit of a tough night, but again, they just kept at it and they just trusted Brock and keep at it. And if we fold, Brock's going to get something with his yards and we'll go with his legs and we'll go again. And I think this is the difference. This is what the last 2 or 3 seasons of disappointment have created. Being able to keep a team like this together with the players that we've got and the way they've been sharpened and the way they play together as a team. And that's what you can't get out of stats. And that's the sort of comeback that you can't get just by being good players. You get that by being great players on a great team. I've tried. You all know what I mean, but I don't think. We'll spend an hour trying to put it into words. I'm going to.
Yeah, I absolutely love what you've just said, Gareth. But I'm really disappointed that you missed out one of the best players of the whole game, Juice.
Oh, so I saved that for you.
Making a catch like a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just
he's got the best hands
it wasn't
on the
just
team.
the catch. It was the throw as well. It was the scramble and the throw and the catch, and it was just great. It was like slow motion.
Yeah,
it looked like slow motion, and to me, that was one of the players of the game.
Yeah. Oh,
All I was
absolutely.
going to say, Gareth, is this team is special. We've been saying this all year. Listen to us. We know what we're talking about, and enjoy it. Andy, Lions fan, has said that season's been one hell of a ride. Reached out, texted me. Lee was texting me at halftime saying that if the Niners lose, we'll go up to the Super Bowl with Andy in Newcastle and we'd achieve the Lions on. And it was a great game of football to watch. It was a game for the ages, the emotional rollercoaster first half. But this team is special. I'm excited. Obviously, we've got nothing to talk about for 2 weeks now, have we, chaps? After this show,
The Pro Bowl review and preview. What are we talking about?
Oh, that's a shame. All the guys get denied.
Oh, they
We've
get
got a
denied
team full
money.
of Pro Bowlers, and now they can't go. But all those alternates will be happy, won't they? They'll
Yeah,
get their
absolutely echoing.
$80,000 or whatever it is they get for turning up.
Absolutely echoing what you said, though. Everyone turned up. Absolutely everyone when it was clutch. Debo breaking tackles and CMC landing on his head and making plays all over. Mitchell scoring that touchdown. I wish he hadn't, though, and took a little bit more time off the clock so we didn't have to almost die on that onside kick. That was very stressful. But yeah, Mitchell, Jennings, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, 2 amazing catch. Juice, Conley was in for that recovery. Everybody put a shift in. Everybody was stuck together. This is a championship team, and it took a while to build it, but it's there. It was beautiful to watch that comeback, and all we needed was just a little bit of tiny bit of luck, and then we grasped it
So
and
you
let
mean
it go.
is this where we dropped the lad in the Discord group, Nadja, when we were lining up for the onside kick? And he said, the last time Kittle did this was against Detroit and he muffed it and they won the game. And I was like, why are you putting those
Yeah, I
vibes in the
know.
universe
That
with
was so
a minute to
stressful.
go? And it was the emotional rollercoaster, like I said earlier, Gareth, 2 minutes in, I was seeing text messages, plans for Super Bowl meetups. I was thinking, this game isn't over yet. But Kittle sealed it. It was great to see all the players on there.
Absolutely.
Though, score prediction wise,
Oh yeah.
is there any
Are we doing
points?
player watch first or predictions? Score predictions first.
Well, let's do player watch. Yeah, we haven't teed up the score predictions. Player watch. I'll start. I think Demo had.
No. Oh, I think you are about to disappear. Well, Paul's player watch is not. He's inactive.
Yeah,
I mean, I can crack on with my player watch if you want, because I'm more than happy to do it. Because when I rewatched the game, I paid particular attention to Colton McKivett.
Yep.
And if I counted correctly, I think he only allowed 2 pressures, and one of them, I'm going to not worthy of counting that, because John Feliciano allowed the bigger pressure, and that was on the interception. But yeah, I thought Colton McKivett had a really good game. I think he handled Aiden Hutchinson better than I expected him to handle him. And I think it's a little bit unfair, some of the flack that Colton McKivett gets. And I think it's a lazy narrative. That's what I think it is.
Easy,
I think it's because he's an easy target.
Yeah.
And to me, because he's the guy I've been watching pretty much all season long, I know that's wrong. I know it's all based off that first game. And he's grown, and I think it's wonderful how he's been playing now.
But it ties in.
So
It also ties into that what Gareth was saying about star shining bright. Hutchinson is supposed to be the superstar defensive player
exactly.
that was supposed to take on the game and change it, and he was largely absent, and even got pancaked by George Kittle. So it's something you don't want to see from your studs. If you compare it to Nick Bosa on the other side, who had 2 sacks and made himself felt. Colton McKivitz has really grown into a good right tackle. I hope we can keep him, and I hope he can get better, which I think he will. Which is great. Feliciano, not so, but.
What's his name, Lee?
His best moment was
I think it was
Brock
Joe Feliciano, number 50.
I was going to say, Najee, Ronnie Bell is a healthy scratch, but I want to put to bed some rumours that are started. We have no proof that El Presidente, Kevin Keegan style, phoned in to Santa Clara. However, it's a good story to put out there. And if I had Photoshopped, Lee, your face was getting put, because I know you're a Sunderland fan. I know the reference of you and Keegan.
Yeah. So me and Andy talked about that on the train home today. We were saying you can tell Paul doesn't follow soccer, because there's no way he should have put Kevin Keegan in with me.
It was just tongue in cheek because everyone was like, "What was said at half time?" And I know you were hosting it and things, but yeah, Ronnie Bell, healthy scratch, and actually might
Yeah,
not see him again. So number 10 might be free next year.
But rightfully so, I think he
Yeah.
definitely lost a chance to play in those games, and hopefully he'll learn from it, and he'll kick himself for not being on the field with his mates.
Good off season, and
yeah,
he'll be all right.
hopefully that'll rally him. Come on, Demo, and then I'll do Jair.
I was just going to leap on McKivitz as well, and because one thing people have to remember, of course, is Trent Williams is at the other side, so he is going to get picked on. Every defensive coordinator is going to look at that line and say, "Where am I going to attack it?" And it's going to be McKivitz every single snap. And the fact that he doesn't fold on 50% of those, particularly towards the end of the game, because he puts a shift in, because he gets picked on by a rotation of pass rushers, which you can do. He's there every single snap. You can bring different pass rushers. You can blitz from different positions. He's got a shift in every single game. So yeah. I've got no complaints with that. I think Demo didn't have his best game. But I still think he's got another good game in him this season. So maybe he's just saving it. But I think it was difficult. I think Fred Warner obviously stood out, but it was difficult to really pick anybody in the secondary, I think, who really stood out as having a good game.
Gibson, obviously, with the
fumble. He forced the fumble. Obviously, he listened to the previous show where I'd said he'd been a bit of a non-factor this season, so he's obviously pulled his socks up on that.
Yeah, I think talking to Jair about Jair, and I think Paul, you mentioned that about the whole secondary, and it's a good segue into Jair Brown. You said in a preview show, and I totally agree. We really felt like we missed Hufanga in that game. That was a game for Hufanga. He would have had so many tackles. All those the Williams touchdown, the Gibbs touchdown. I don't think they happen with Huff on the field. And Jair Brown's growing into it, but he's still. You can tell sometimes he's just afraid to make a mistake, and then he's a step slower, and then he does indeed make the mistake because he hasn't taken the chance. He's a lot safer than Huff in his tackling, and he's not as just full on no breaks kind of player. I like him a lot though. I think those two, when if Gibson decides to retire, it's going to be electric backfield with the Brown. Yeah, and he's learning. I think he really wasn't supposed to play this year at all, and being thrusted in such a big game in such a big stage. It didn't get bit deep on that. There was a couple of fake plays, and it was there or thereabouts in the guy's first. Where was it? They tried that pass to Goff, and then Goff launched it. And then they tried the flea flicker, and they tried something else where they gave it to Montgomery, and then he passed it to the side, and they tried to launch it. It was kind of thereabouts, didn't really get beat that deep. He was there to make a play, which is good to see. And this is what I mean. I think he's playing so safe sometimes that he's almost too safe to make the one step he needs to make the tackle just a little bit earlier than he needs to be, and then just gives up first downs on 3rd and 18 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, good performance overall. He's growing, he's getting better, and that's all we can ask for somebody that's starting wise 6th game, 7th game, maybe rusted into this high powered defense. So yeah, that's good. Big game coming up.
So let's go into score predictions then. If you've got the graph, Lee,
there it is.
It's getting tight. Look at that.
It's getting very tight. Yeah, well done. You guys have. I'm gonna say I'm very happy that I'm still in it, considering I haven't watched any football for the past 2 weeks and I have no idea what's going on, apart from last night. Yeah, Lee and Gareth nailed on the Niners score, 34. Well done. Very, very well done. 26, Lee for the Lions. That was pretty close. And then they scored that touchdown at the end. And then 27 for Gareth, same again. And then they scored that touchdown and went for the field goal. You would have been bang on, pretty much. So that would have been a lot of points. Paul and I both 5 points. So the table is Paul still first, 92. I'm second with 90. Gareth is third with 89, and Lee bringing the rear with only 1 point behind, 88. There's 4 points, 1 game to go. all to
Wow.
play for. This is perfect. This is a perfect ending of this prediction league. It's been a lot of fun. I have good news. We have found a way to involve you, the public. We've been trialing it on Discord. I think we'll keep it on Discord because there's a lot less people. If we put it on Facebook, it's going to be a data dump and it's going to be very, very, very hard to manage. We don't have the server space to run that many numbers, I think. So yeah, we'll keep you on Discord. So if you want to join into the prediction league next year, join Discord and you'll be able to compete against us. Essentially, there will be an extra column, which will be the people, and we'll see if they win. If they win, I guess we'll just have the honorary trophy, which is over there somewhere. Over there. The trophy will be yours to the people, and we'll whoever's won it this year will keep it nice and fresh for you until else wins it. But yeah, it's good. It's fun. This one more game. We'll see if Lee decides to say the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
There could be some tactical voting on the in the last week, couldn't there?
Could be.
In
but
the last week, there's going to be tactical voting. Come off it.
I did
You've
point
been
out
tactical voting since midway through the season.
I did point out that even if you predict a Chiefs win, if you don't get any other score right, you will only get 5 points. And if we predict the Niners score bang on, we also will get 5 points. Therefore, going for the Chiefs win it's really not.
Depends
Depends
if you like winning dirty points or not.
Yeah, that's it. I can't talk. I got a lot of points by us losing. But maybe we'll rethink how we score the winning team, because maybe 5 points is too much. We'll think about it. We'll have 6 months to experiment and think
work
about it.
in progress, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it's at least it's kept everything tight, but it did feel if we just randomly selected numbers, which basically we did, you might have ended up with much the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
So because it has been so tight.
I was just thinking less points for choosing the winner, because it's only a 50-50. You're going to get 5 points.
Yeah, I didn't think because we all pretty much are going to choose the Niners for most games, aren't we?
And there's that too, yeah.
Let's face it. There is no watch party news. Is there any other news to say other than any watch party news? We haven't got any.
Probably no within a day or two, maybe 3. And as soon as we will, we're
recording this Monday, so by the time it's out Tuesday, we might have some news Wednesday, maybe
Tuesday night.
Possibly, yeah. So that's kind of when I'm expecting it to break, Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, there you go.
But we will get the news in the next couple of days.
But there will be an event. That's not
there will be an event,
is it? It's just we know that we know the date.
Yes, there will be an event.
But just don't know where.
Exactly.
So what Lee's saying is you have to tune into live at 8 p.m. on Wednesday.
Absolutely. We will have some breaking news. Yeah, no, definitely tune. There's something's going to happen for sure at some point, somewhere. Well, at some point, no. It'll be Sunday the 11th. 11th
Yeah, I think so.
That can tell you that. But yeah, we as soon as you know, maybe a couple of minutes later, for us to write a message, you'll know. We'll post it everywhere.
For those people who don't want to wait for the official watch party news, if you are determined to go local, Sarah's putting together the map that she always does. So if you're arranging a local one, if you live in Manchester and you're heading to a certain bar, send Sarah the details and she's going to have that map ready. Because equally, once the official watch party news breaks, I know some people down south want it to be down south, some people up north want it to be up north. We can't please everybody, but once we know, we'll let it out.
Sarah McClellan on Facebook group.
And just something else about that as well. We don't have any say in where it's going to be.
No, absolutely not.
No, I do respect people who live in Manchester asking for it to be Manchester. People who live in Glasgow asking for it to be in Glasgow.
Everybody wants their local.
I've seen so many bars putting Super Bowl watch parties in Manchester. I think there's at least 4 or 5 bars in Manchester that are doing it. If that's what you want to do, go there. I'm sure it'll be great. But
there we go. I think we've covered everything. I don't know that we can possibly cover everything out of that game in an hour. I'd say go back and watch it again, or at least go and watch the game in 40 if you can. You get more than that than I think it's fun. Sometimes find the NFL highlights. You think, what have you missed? Some of the key plays. You just done the scoring plays. But anyway, I would say that's one to definitely enjoy back. unless you are a Lions fan, because I do have some sympathy for the pain of that loss, given the pain that fan base has gone through over, I was going to say recent years, but it's not just recent years, it's over decades, isn't it? That's, can you imagine being on the back end of that loss?
Well, I think
brutal, but they'll come back from it stronger. That's the key point.
In terms of pain, I think the NFC Championship last year might have been worse, maybe, because we knew we should have won that game and we couldn't, and having no quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I said exactly the opposite to, I think it was Neil Graham last night. During at the end of the first half, I said, this feels a lot worse because we've got no excuse.
Yeah.
Last year we had an excuse. We lost our quarterback.
Yeah, but it's just, the opportunity taken away from you to compete in the Super Bowl just because, Jimmy decided not to dress, which, But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's
old wounds there.
I know. Sorry. No, I mean, for Lions fan and Andy, if you're listening to this, I do really feel sorry for you. It's going to make you a better team. I can guarantee you. You'll look back on it in a couple of years. And it's the NFL. It's brutal. It's there's only one to win it every year. There's only one team that matters, and it's
those sort of losses. They will make your team or they will break your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, judging by Dan Campbell's persona, I think the Lions will be okay off that.
Yeah,
I think he'll find the right way to use that.
That's what I was saying. Wouldn't surprise me if this is the exact same game next year. And so
and we have to beat them again? Gee, come on.
Yeah. In honour of you returning, Nadji, I put something up in the background which is just for you.
Oh,
a little cheeky nod.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for those people listening, Nadji didn't know the news. He put a message in the group chat and said, "Why didn't you tell me my boy Justin's being looked after? We've been waiting to see you, Nadji." I cracked that out on the live last week. Who's got it better than us?
I'm not sure.
Nobody.
I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it's good for Justin. I'm not sure it's good for.
But that's a rabbit hole we can get into.
It's an off-season rabbit hole.
Off-season rabbit hole.
And it could have been worse. You could have seen Harbaugh at the Chargers, at the Seahawks. So,
yeah, that would have. Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah. There we go. Right, lads. I think we should wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. Good to see you back, Nadji, as well. It's been great to have you back on. And thanks to everybody that listens to and watches the show. And thanks to everybody for sharing photos of the meetup. That was good to see. Some great little stories there about people turning up, not knowing anyone, and finding best mates about 20 minutes later. And that's kind of what the meetups are about. I think that's a pretty common story. And thanks to everyone who participated in the game day threads. I kept an eye on them. I don't often dive in, but it's good to see the interaction. And I think it's great that people can get involved and not feel so lonely. However, let's not go over some of the hot takes that were coming out at halftime. Again, I think it's just the game ain't over till it's over. So we should have learnt that from last week. We will be back on Wednesday with a live show, and the Super Bowl preview podcast will be out just a few days before the big game itself, because we'll make sure we're up to date with any injury news or anything else like that. And of course, we want to make sure you've got something to listen to travel to the watch party for the Super Bowl. So there we are. And that's it. 2023 NFL season has one game left, and we are in it. It's Niners, it's Chiefs, it's Vegas, and it's Super Bowl 58. Fair to say, I think a lot of the players have been waiting for this revenge rematch. But I think a lot of the fans have as well. So I'm very happy with this particular matchup. Enjoy your week and go Niners.
Go Niners.
Super Bowl, baby.
Woohoo.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down.